Stop me if you've heard this before. Reese Olson pitches a gem, and the Detroit Tigers still lose. We're going to talk about that and much more all today on Locked On Tigers.
You are Locked On Tigers, your daily Detroit Tigers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another edition of Locked On Tigers. I'm, of course, your host, Scott Bentley. Today is Tuesday, June 18th, 2024. Thank you so much for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts, including YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Welcome in, everyone. Happy Tuesday to all. Hope everyone is staying safe in the heat. It might be hot outside, but the Detroit Tigers offense stays cold. So the first time I said that, because we can all admit that was a smooth transition, right? The first time I said that was off the dome. Then I had to restart the recording, and now here we are. So I don't feel nearly as braggy about it, but in the moment, I felt really, really crispy about that transition. I feel like sometimes I have 4 sayings I just use for all of my transitions, and that one felt really good. And now I don't get to brag about it because it's not the first time that I've said it. Anyway, the Detroit Tigers lose 2-1 at the hands of the Atlanta Braves on Monday night in Atlanta. They were winning going into the bottom of the 7th inning. The Detroit Tigers were up 1-0, and they end up losing 2-1. They are now 34-38 on the season. The Braves are now 39-31 on the season, and your Detroit Tigers are 3-8 in the team's last 11 ball games. 3-8. It's not great. That has all the appearances and the optics, if you will, of a slide, right? We were talking a lot at the early part of the season, April, May even, right, about how this team was built in a way where the pitching had to be really good to keep their head afloat. And over the last 2 weeks, really in June, they're pretty comfortably under 500 in June, but they did win whatever it was, 3 of the first 4 games or something like that in the month of June. So really in that last, 10, 11 ball games, it really feels like we have seen that catch up to them, right? That's from where I sit, that's what I'm watching. I'm watching water somewhat find its level in the sense that all of those one-run games that they were winning early in the season, now it's being flipped. It is very, very, very difficult to win close, low-scoring ball games as consistently as they were at the beginning part of the season, especially when your bullpen has completely flipped on its head. And I will continue to say that the offense is the thing on this team that needs to be addressed the most, is the biggest issue, if you will, currently that is plaguing this team. However, they were able to, like I said earlier, keep their head above water because the bullpen was so good and the starting pitching was so good that they could win a lot of those ball games. The bullpen has absolutely imploded in the last month, 4 to 6 weeks. Completely and entirely blown up in its face. So that's where we're going to start with what went wrong in this ball game. 2 relievers that just made 2 really poor pitches. And that was the difference in this one. Now, certainly the offense put up 1 run. Again, I still think that the offense is the biggest issue this team has. The biggest. Number 1. If I was ranking them, it's ahead of the bullpen, I promise. But as I say all the time, it can be a group effort, right? Both can be true, I promise. So Shelby Miller gives up the home run to Ozzie Albies. I'll be completely honest with you. I think there have been 2, 3, maybe 4 outings all year where Shelby Miller has thrown a fastball and I've been like, that's a good pitch. It hasn't been zero, admittedly. It hasn't been zero. But it's been closer to zero than in 100% of his outings, certainly. I remember, I'll never forget it, right? It brings a tear to my eye. I will never forget his first appearance back from injury. That was, go watch the fastball in that outing and then watch the fastball in last night's game. And you tell me that that's the same pitch. Very, very, very rough command of it in this game. And it's been a roller coaster as far as his fastball command goes so far this season. But the fastball we have seen a majority of the time from him is just not going to cut it as like a big, high leverage reliever. And it doesn't set up the splitter, which is a really good pitch that he has and was a huge reason for his success in LA last year. And then Will Vest gives up the game tying run. Brutal. We'll talk about the Ryan Kreidler play in a second here. That pitch that Will Vest threw to give up the RBI single was absolutely brutal. That was a hanging slider down the middle on a 1-2 count to a lefty, Will Vest being a righty. That can't happen. That like, I understand he's probably trying to backdoor that, right, and get the outside corner. I don't know. That is a gutsy decision. A really gutsy call. And look, if it worked, I'd be singing the praises, right? That's how it works, unfortunately. But I'll tell you what, that is a gutsy decision. Because if you miss anywhere, glove side, that ball's getting hit because a lefty's up. On a 1-2 count, brutal. And even if you completely agree and you're like, no, that was the right call, right? Like they should have gone for that pitch there. It would have been a strikeout if he located correctly. That's fine, right? To each their own. The execution was obviously brutal. Hanging slider down the middle on a 1-2 count with a man on third and 2 outs. Brutal stuff. Ryan Kreidler made another pretty costly mistake in this ball game that has unfortunately been a theme for him so far in his short, albeit major league tenure. We'll talk about that right after this. Got to talk to you all today about our friends over at Game Time. Game Time is the definition of clutch. I talk about them all the time. And they are also an official authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes it easier and faster to get tickets. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer you get to first pitch with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and the lowest price guarantee. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. They have fantastic features, last-minute tickets, flash deals, zone deals, right, where you can save even more if you choose a section, and Game Time then chooses the seats for you. And again, they get cheaper the closer you get to the game. And then obviously you have the Game Time guarantee that will credit you 110% of the difference if you find a seat in the same row for less. So take the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off of your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Also going to talk to you all about our friends over at Supply House. Get supplies from the site that is made for skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get yours delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. If you need help with an order, get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free TradeMaster program. Every TradeMaster gets access to dedicated phone lines, free shipping, and a discount on every order. So join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free membership at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. All right, everybody, welcome back here. Segment 2 of Locked On Tigers. I appreciate you all for tuning in, as always, making us your first listen every single day. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will be back tomorrow recapping Game 2 of this series against the Braves, as well as talking about anything else that happens in and out of the Tigers organization. Also, be sure to check out Locked On Sports Today, a free 24/7 sports streaming channel program for you, bringing you the biggest stories in sports without all of the screaming maybe that Fox Sports or ESPN brings you on a day-to-day basis. You can check it out for free and for 24/7, by the way. Subscribe for free on YouTube, or you can check it out for free in the Amazon Fire TV channels app. Talking about what went wrong in this 2-1 loss to the Atlanta Braves. Unfortunately, Ryan Kreidler finds himself in this category yet again. I mean, so far, it's just been a really rough stint at the major league level for Ryan Kreidler. I don't think there's really any avoiding that conversation either. And Javi is hurt, and Javi is right now on pace to literally be the worst qualified hitter in baseball and one of the worst qualified hitters of recent memory in the game of baseball. Okay, so this is not like an advocacy of, oh my goodness, I miss Javi so much, and we need Baez back on this lineup and back on this team. Okay, because I know that the second I start this conversation, that's what someone's going to say. Ryan Kreidler in a vacuum is hitting 167 with a 453 OPS. Now, albeit, again, a very small sample size. He could go 3 for 3 and could be hitting above league average, right? But he has not done much at the plate. I think he has 2 hits, 3 hits. One's a bunt, one's a blooper. And there's not too much more after that. And he has, unfortunately, even if you remove the offensive side of the ball, he has made a lot of really small mistakes that have cost this team pretty greatly already in his major league, stint so far this season. He had the error in one of his first games that cost him a run. He had missing first base over the weekend while running the bases. And in this game, just wasn't very quick on a relay. Ball came in, had Austin Riley, I believe it was, at third base. Had him. Just didn't transition quick enough. Didn't get the ball in. And that proved to be costly. What else went wrong? This is going to shock you. The offense as a whole. This is not Ryan Kreidler's fault that they lost this ball game. It's not Shelby Miller's in a vacuum, right? It's not Will Vest on by himself. Those 3 were easy to pick on in this game. But again, this is a group effort. This offense continues to be absolutely brutal. Your 2, 3, and 5 hitters in this ball game were Andy Ibanez, Mark Canha, and Gio Urshela. Those OPSs in order are 696, 734, and 684. That is your 2, 3, and 5 hitters. Those are the heart of your lineup. Those are your run producers. 2 of them have sub 700 OPSs, and the other one has an OPS sub 600 in like the May and June. He's been hitting a little bit better lately. Maybe that's above that now. But in May, it was not very good. Andy Ibanez, Mark Canha, Gio Urshela are not a 2-3-5 on a good offense, man. That's just what it is. All right. Let's talk. And like really quickly, again, when this team went into the ninth inning and they were down a run, they brought Joe Jimenez. Joe Jimenez has been good for them. Earned an extension, right? They've been pretty fine, I think, with that trade over in Atlanta. I think he has got a 3, maybe after this outing, a sub-3 ERA this season. It's been a solid reliever for them. He's not their closer. I'm pretty sure they said on the broadcast he was 0 for 1 in save opportunities this year. They brought him in a 1-run ball game. That's what your offense is. And he shut the door. Good for Joe Jimenez. Okay, let's talk about what went right in this ball game, because again, they were winning through 6.5 innings, almost 7. And they were tied through 7 going into the bottom of the 8th. Reese Olson was absolutely fantastic yet again. 6 innings, 4 hits, no earned runs, no walks, and 8 strikeouts. I say yet again, it's actually been a few starts, as we all know, since he has put together a really solid outing. So I think that this is awesome. This is a great sign. He was pitching in his hometown in front of friends and family. That's always a really cool moment. The interview with his mom and dad and brother was really cool as well in this one. So yeah, like he was fantastic. He was absolutely fantastic. And I think more than anything, this just was kind of a nice sigh of relief of, okay, it's still in there, right? Like we haven't seen the dominant start in, again, 4-5 outings now for him. And just knowing, okay, it's still in there. He's not just completely lost it. It's still in there. Everything's okay. And hopefully now regularly scheduled programming. Now he's not going to go 6 shutout every outing from here on out, but this was a really good outing against a really good lineup. Even though this team has a lot of injuries that it's dealing with right now, this Braves team is still really good and still pretty darn deep. I thought he navigated the lineup incredibly well. His slider specifically was dang near perfect, I thought, in this ball game. Swings and misses, called strikes. He went backdoor to lefties, and it worked. Again, big guts it takes to execute that on a consistent basis, and he did it a couple of times in this ball game. The changeup, I thought, was elite in this one as well, and that's what we saw. Those were the 2 comments I had usually when he was slicing and dicing every lineup he faced there for the first couple of months of the season, right? Like the fastball continues to be, and I'll talk about that in a second, something that he can't consistently get swings and misses on. The changeup in the slider, when they are really good, it doesn't matter. And the fastball can still set up those 2 pitches really, really well. And that's what we saw, I think, in this ball game more than anything else. The changeup, he was throwing it righty and executing it really well, like with no fear consistently. That's something that AJ talks a lot about with Reese Olson as well, as just all 3 of his pitches being able to work against both handedness of batter. He also threw, I think it was a season high in curveballs, they said on the broadcast. Fantastic. Those were executed really well. If you're going to give him more weapons, I'm going to smile and get giddy, right? Like that's awesome for a guy that already has so many weapons in his arsenal and already such good stuff, to give a completely different look with that loopier curveball in this one was awesome to see. The only issue I had with this entire outing was one specific pitch, literally one pitch, and it was to Marcell Ozuna. I think it was the first time he was up. I think it was in the first inning, and it was a full count, and he threw him a fastball, and it was not where he wanted it, granted, right? It was not, it was kind of caught way too much over the heart of the plate. So he wasn't trying to throw the fastball in that spot, but in that position, you could not have paid me to call a fastball if I was Jake Rogers in that situation. Now, I don't know if Rogers called it. I don't know if Olson shook him off. I don't know if Hinch called it. I have no clue with that specific one, right? But I think that's a perfect opportunity to throw a slider low and away or a righty changeup. He had no issue doing it in this game. Clearly, he had the confidence to do it. Ozuna's been incredible at the plate this year. Phenomenal. He's been one of the best players in baseball. I think if the season ends today, he might win the National League Triple Crown. Like he's been nuts. You couldn't have paid me to throw a fastball there. Outside of that, absolutely beautiful. Cannot say enough good things about this outing. I have one more player that I want to highlight in this category, right? And in what went right. And after that, we will talk stuff. All right. We'll do all of that right after this. Got to talk to y'all today about our friends over at Prize Picks. It is the summer, and you can turn $10 into $1,000 in a single game while watching your favorite sports this summer. You can make a Prize Picks lineup in as little as 60 seconds. You just need to pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stats projections, and you are absolutely locked in. If you're looking for promotions, Prize Picks has got you covered every week, from lowering select player stats on Tuesdays, which obviously increases your chance of winning, or getting your entry fees back if you have a losing lineup on a Friday. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with over 5 million active members. The NBA Finals just came to an end on Monday night. The Stanley Cup still in full swing, however, and obviously we are in the thick of baseball season. Really fun to look at a lot of the numbers and stats that they have that you take more or less on. I talk all the time about starting pitching strikeouts, but they also have like amount of fantasy points acquired by a player. I think that that's a really fun one to take a look at as well. So be sure to get in on all the action today. Download the app and use code LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, LOCKEDONMLB for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It's that easy. All right, everybody, welcome back. Your third and final segment of Locked On Tigers. I appreciate you all so much for tuning in. As always, talking about what went right in this 2-1 loss to the Atlanta Braves, I thought Mark Canha had a really solid ball game. Just such a smart player, right? And he shouldn't be the 3-hitter on your baseball team, but that's just kind of where the offense is right now. So he kind of has to be. But he is such an intelligent ball player. And that play where he tried to basically get Chavez to commit a balk, I thought was just brilliant. He got back to the bag, obviously, on that pickoff attempt. You don't see too many pickoff attempts to third base. I know that the offense, again, it has not been, since the end of April, has not been what it was in April. And I didn't expect it to be, but it definitely dipped off way further than I was comfortable with at one point as well. He's been swinging a little bit better lately. But just trying to find any positives on the offensive side of the ball. And I think, again, lately he's been looking a little bit better in there. Got around on a fastball in this game as well. That's always a good sign. So there you go. That's pretty much it for this one. Let's talk stuff. This can be in things that went wrong as well. That call to Colt Keith was absolutely brutal. Absolutely brutal. Now, it still would have required the Tigers to come through and get a hit after him, right? There were still 2 outs in the inning. Still would have required somebody to have a big hit and bring someone home. And there's certainly no guarantee that that happens. But that was genuinely, and I'm trying really hard not to be overreactionary in the moment. Off the top of my head, I can't think of a worse third strike call against the Detroit Tigers this season. I can't think of one. If there is one out there, please enlighten me, remind me, right? Obviously, I've seen them all. I've seen all the games, unfortunately. But I can't recall a worse called third strike so far this season against the Tigers specifically. That was absolutely brutal. And that is why the challenge system is going to be here in the next 2 to 5 years. That is why. Already in all the levels of the minors, it is inevitable. Okay. Let's talk all-star voting really quickly. The Detroit Tigers did not have anyone Bob Nightingale of USA Today tweeted out the updated in the first round, the first wave of all-star voting so far since the voting opened. What was that, a week and a half ago ish? And there are no Detroit Tigers anywhere. The only one that has a legitimate reason to maybe be upset that he's not in the top 20 is Riley Greene, right? Riley Greene, again, like not even in the top 20, really. He is 13th in baseball in Fangraphs WAR amongst outfielders. So, again, I think that probably is and that's, again, all of baseball. That's American League and National League. I think that probably deserves to be in the top 20 in American League voting. Now, this is voting, right? If people don't vote for you, they don't vote for you. It doesn't matter how good or bad you are. And that's just where we're at. If you want to look at OPS, he's in the top 10 in American League in qualified OPS. Outfielders, again, only outfielders, obviously not all positions. Like he should certainly be on this list. I think that kind of goes without saying. Because they have down to top 20 in this graphic that Nightingale put out there. That being said, when it comes to the top 6 that are going to make the All-Star game, Aaron Judge, Juan Soto, Kyle Tucker, and Steven Kwan are locks. Absolute locks. Like I don't think it's really hard to justify not having those 4 guys in the All-Star game if the All-Star game was today. So, like, if you want to make a huge push to try to get him in, getting one of the last spots and being a bench outfielder, so be it, right? Like, currently it's Alex Verdugo. Had a fine year with the Yankees, but, like, maybe a little bit of a Yankee bump there. But that's it. Like, it's that's the only person that really has, like I said, a legitimate argument for being upset that their name is nowhere near this top 20. Which he should be. It's absurd that he's not. But every other position, I don't know. I mean, DH, I guess if you want to argue Kerry Carpenter should be on there. He's hurt. And part of that is market, right? The Detroit Tigers haven't been good in almost a decade, and they're under 500 again. I don't think the general baseball fan outside of the city of Detroit is thinking too much about which Tigers to vote into the All-Star game. It's looking like Tarek Skubal is going to be the only one. Maybe Jack Flaherty squeaks on there, but it looks like those are going to be the only 2 guys that even get consideration for your Detroit Tigers this year. And I don't think that that's like ridiculous. Again, your 2, 3, and 5 hitter in Monday night's ball game. 2 of those 3 had sub 700 OPSs. You just don't have all-star talent. That's where the Tigers find themselves. They play another ball game tonight, 7:20 against the Atlanta Braves yet again, obviously. Casey Mize going for the Tigers, looking for some swing and miss stuff. Looking for some swing and miss on his fastball would be wonderful. Looking for him to throw the splitter in 2-strike counts, maybe a little bit more consistently than he has in his last few outings. That would be nice. And then obviously every outing looking for the slider to be a little bit more effective. Going up against Spencer Schwellenbach, who I really, really liked. Man, what was that 3 years ago now? 2, 3 years ago? 3 or 4 years ago? Pitched for Nebraska, really liked him there, and has really good stuff. Has a fastball that can get into the upper 90s, sits mid-90s, has a really good slider, has a really good curveball, has a really good cutter, has a splitter. Like, this dude is tooled up. He's got a lot of really good stuff and can get you to chase out of the zone really, I don't want to say easily, but with pretty much anything in his arsenal, he can get you to chase out of the strike zone. That's always dangerous. This is his rookie season. He has an ERA over 6 in 3 starts so far this season, so it hasn't been a really fantastic rookie campaign for him. But this is a dude that has a lot of really good stuff, and you are the Detroit Tigers offense in 2024. So I would love to go out there and punch him in the mouth and take advantage of a guy who's trying to get acclimated to the big leagues and show him what's up. But I don't really have too much confidence in that on a day-to-day basis. No matter what happens, though, we'll be back tomorrow. All right. Thanks for making Locked On Tigers your first listen every single day. I appreciate you all greatly. Shout out to the everydayers that do tune in every day, and we will be back tomorrow. Peace and love. Going to therapy's dope. I'll catch y'all then, baby. Go Tigers. Where is my exit video? Peace.